Well, maybe one thing for the beginning. Yesterday, when I got the first message about, you know, the fact that the Czech voice actors might not be attending, we've been in a broken van with all the equipment you see around, including all the sound stuff, at the beginning of the LARP, and we had no idea what's going to happen. And when I got this message, and guys in the van told me, oh, so you can make your own panel. No, I don't want to make panels at Czequestria, not please. And I think it's not a good idea to begin the convention with a panel, you know, what all got wrong at this convention. No. Thank you. The holy baguette. What? 200 first time? 200 for second time? 250? 300? 350? 350 once? 400 going once? Crowns. Okay, no problem, crowns. 500 crowns for the first time? Second time? Well, don't say that, she'll be here in a few minutes. But okay, sold to Damat Hiding Corridor for 500. Our first charity donation. You can pay with the card the merchandise later, because we finally have the card terminal for the Czequestria merchandise. So. Also, I don't like you because you got my lunch. But, no, I can buy another one. Okay. So, just first question to the crowd. What would you like to know about Czequestria and always been afraid to ask about?
Why are you still doing this to yourself?
Why am I still doing this? Because I want to and I choose to do it. That's it. Yes, Rocky?
I have one important question. Can you sing this for me? Sign, sorry.
Yes, later.
Later, okay.
You can also ask Perry, she's a signing specialist.
All right.
Let me just test the sound from the laptop. Yeah, good. That's good level. No screaming. No Windows 11. Yeah, let's put something on the background so you know what this is all about. Yes. What it is? It's the name of the event you are sitting right now.
That makes sense. I was wondering myself why I was in Prague.
Well, we can start with actually that. How many emails do you think I got in last 24 hours or like last 48 hours saying approximately the thing, hey, I think your website is broken, there are no tickets for sale, and I'm on my way from another country to Czech Republic and I don't have a ticket. How many emails or how many messages do you think I got? 27. It was just 8, but it was more than enough. I mean, I totally appreciate the enthusiasm of people coming to Czequestria, but I would never go to to the convention in another country without actually buying a ticket in advance. Maybe I'm missing something.
No, it's the thrill, you know. It's not knowing if you can actually attend the con you travel to. No, you just travel to Czequestria to protest. It's an argument.
Yes?
What was up with those punks yesterday at the LARP event? Who were they?
We have no idea. It was just random punks who came and with some words, let's say, Czech country to the Czech people, speak Czech. Those are these types of punks who are, you know, all around. This is a capital city, so every capital city has these kind of people running around. We've never seen them before. Yeah. I'm starting to think that Perry actually forgot. Yeah, Perry is in the vendor hall, so please. In the meantime, I'm going to show you something interesting. Try to guess what it is. Yes. Yes, that's right. This is the ticket sales amount of people, because we kept the Czequestria at 300 this year. It's totally different than any previous years. In the previous years, it was constant grow. But the thing you can see in here, like at this point, what do you think that happened? No.
Sale?
It's 1 month before convention, and that's exactly the time when you have to order all merchandise. So if anyone is wondering why there are less people at Czequestria this time, it's yes, one thing is that all conventions suffers a bit, and not just conventions. It's also because people change their buying habits. And it's not just conventions, it's all culture events. People wait about 1 month before the event, and they start buy tickets like crazy. So if you're an organizer and you can see 1 month ago, the amount of people who wanted to attend Czequestria was half. So that's kinda organizer's nightmare. Yeah. We talked about this with other convention organizers, our colleagues from the Ponycon Holland, and I think I also talked to Galacon guys, and they said, hi Perry. They said it's everywhere the same.
Also, a lot of cultural events cancelled.
Yes, in past years, a lot of events cancelled, and that changed this behavior. But you know, if you cannot be sure, how many people are actually coming, it's really bad for the planning. Yeah, and do you think that there is some meaning to these small spikes over here? No, they are completely random. You know, I always, before I started to do this job, I always thought, yeah, now we are gonna announce the big guests. People start to buy the tickets. And it was, I think, at the second Czequestria, we announced our first VIP guest, and that was the first day of like 2 months of ticket sales when nobody bought a ticket.
Oh.
So it totally does not work this way.
It'd be nice if it did. Did I miss a lot? I'm sorry.
No. Hello, Perry. I think your microphone should be working.
Hello.
Yes. Hello. No, I've been just showing, you know, the ticket sales.
You're showing numbers.
Yeah. Yes.
The best and the worst part.
I think this is something that's interesting, and it's not shown often because this is considered a business intelligence data and, you know, secrets and stuff. But I think it's worth it to show it because this is how it works now. You know, we can throw out and flush all the data we had from the previous years because this time everything's different. Sadly. You can introduce yourself in the meantime.
Hi. I'm doing great. I hope you're doing great. I'm Perry. Most people know me as someone who stands on stages and talks a lot about numbers when people throw them at me because they buy things at charity auctions. Something I love doing, but it wasn't originally actually my job. Originally, I was one of the founding members of Galacon. I was one of the main staff people for 3 years after I said, admittedly, I was just out of energy because it's a big job. You do a lot of things. And I learned a lot there. I was really glad I got to be part of it. I'm glad I can still be part of other conventions. But from the side where I have been for 3 years, I can hopefully at least lend a little bit of information and insight as well, because Jamis is still in it now. Obviously, he can tell to you about the now. I can just give some context maybe, especially based on the last 10 years. Can you understand this? It's been 10 years since the first Galacon. What the hell? I am going to crumble into dust now, excuse me. So, but I hope I can lend a little bit of extra to what Jamis is saying. He got, you know, he got the real know-how from what's happening now. But as he can attest, since Czequestria has also been around for a long time, since 2013, right?
2014.
14, right, 14. I kept thinking it was 13. But yes, there is obviously a lot that we've all been through, both the people here who have been either volunteers or staffers with conventions, who've had some look behind the curtain and saw, wow, okay, behind the curtain is always a mess, but it always comes together somehow. And I like talking about that, not because I think I want to brag, but rather because I want to show people it's not as glamorous as you think. A lot of it is just people who are enthusiastic, trying to make something happen and trying to do a lot with not a lot. So that's really all it is. Just a lot of, okay, we have this, we want more, we can't do that, can we still make something happen? And I always find it good to show people a little view behind that curtain, because I think it's good to know. Sometimes it is fun to know how the sausage is made.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this many times. The thing is that, well, I started by attending the conventions, and then I somehow mysteriously ended up in this position.
Yeah, but something happened in between.
Yeah, something happened in between. I have absolutely no idea.
You know what happened. Wasn't it originally a bet with M.A. Larson?
Yes.
There you go. Tell them. Tell the people who don't know.
I think everyone already knew. I always say that we blame M.A. Larson for Czequestria, because me and Melgar, who is the vice chair of this convention, and you can see him running around too, we've been at Brony Days in 2013.
I was there, yeah.
Yeah, you have your own or big story about that, yeah. We will go to that later. But we wanted Mitch sign our Czech and Slovak flag which we actually forgot in our flat this time. Never mind. And he just looked at the flag and said, "Oh, Czech Republic and Slovakia? Yes. So, where there is gonna be a My Little Pony convention in Prague? We are actually planning something for next year."
Was that true?
Yes, we've been thinking about doing it.
M.A. Larson read your mind.
Yeah, we already organized the big meetups for like about 200 people, so we had some background. But Mitch just replied, "Oh, so you definitely have to invite me as a guest." We were like, "Okay, so next year in Prague, shoot." And we've been just walking away from that autograph session, and I said, "You know, now we have to do it. We promised it to Mitch Larson." Yeah, I came to the Perry table. She was downstairs.
Yeah, I was a vendor, yeah.
Yeah, she was a vendor, and I said, "Hey Perry, we just promised Mitch Larson to make a convention in Prague." And Perry was, "Yeah, if you're going to make a convention in Prague, you should definitely invite me as a guest." Okay, deal.
I have to say, you kept your promise. I've been there at every Czequestria since.
That's right. Okay, so that's the funny stories, how it begins, how it works. What I wanted to say initially that there are a lot of stuff going in background, and with the complex things like the conventions definitely are, like the really complex systems, there is always something that will go wrong.
Yes.
Like
And
you cannot avoid it, and you can only hide it from people so it does not influence attendees. And if you hide it and repair it and do it like, you know, contain the danger, then the organizers team did a good job.
yes. And
I've heard this many times from organizing teams who are making their first event, and their minds are melting down because there are so many broken things. And I say, "Guys, that's okay. It's normal. It's happening to everyone. You just do not want to know."
like, I can tell you, like, obviously when we started Galacon in 2012, I think literally none of us had organized a convention before. We had like 1 or 2 people who had volunteered at conventions before. We were just like, I remember when I was asked, I was a moderator on the biggest German pony forum at the time, bronies.eu, and I just was there because all of these things are just kind of just random circumstances. You don't plan on this. You don't get up one morning and are like, "Oh yeah, I'm now gonna start a convention, I guess." You don't. You know, that's not a thing you just decide over your cup of coffee like that. For me, it was, I knew the guy who started bronies.eu because we were in the same fandom before together in a different one. It was South Park for some reason. Yeah, that's a transition from South Park to ponies. And he was like, "Yeah, I like this show. I want to make a forum for it." And I was like, "Okay, maybe do you need some help with that?" And he said, "Sure, yeah, that's how it will go. That simple." So I was a moderator, so I was in the mod sub forum, and one of the mods was like, "Hey, we're thinking about like maybe doing like a little meetup or a convention thing, I think, for, you know, pony stuff. That would be fun maybe." And I was like, "Okay, I'll help, but only a little bit."
Yeah, that's the catch.
Famous last words. Famous last words. I was like, "Oh, I'm not gonna commit to a lot." Yeah, of course that was a lie. But I didn't know that yet because, again, you are just in the right place at the right time, and you have no idea what's going to happen. So for me, how that transitioned then is that we needed more people to help. So I just, at some point it was like, "Hey, Perry, we need someone to organize the volunteers. Are you going to do it?" I guess, yeah. I had no experience. I had no clue. I was not good at organizing volunteers. There's a reason why I only did it once, because after that we had much better people for it. It's just stuff that happens. This is literally how I became auctioneer. I had not done it ever at anything before. None. I had no clue about anything. And anyone who was at the first Galacon auction or saw it, and there's probably still a recording on YouTube somewhere, because the internet never forgets your shames, I was really bad as an auctioneer. Like, I'm not saying that to crap on myself. I was generally very inexperienced. I was literally told 5 minutes before the auction, because the person who was supposed to do it injured her foot, I was told, Perry, you have the best English, you go do it. What? What? I had no idea about anything. I was terrible. I was so nervous, I went to the bathroom in the middle of the auction like 6 times. It's not a joke. I had, because you know how they tell you you have to eat enough, sleep enough, drink enough during conventions? Yeah, because I had forgotten all 3 of those things. I realized I was really close to like, oh God, I wasn't sure if I was going to pass out, but I felt like I was going to pass out. So I suddenly just drank a lot. I ate a lot. I ate like 5 apples during the whole auction. That's why I asked me to sign apples. It was entirely because I ate them a lot during that. Yeah, I know, but I ate a few and then people were like, sell the next one, because I had like a box of them. Someone had like a whole box of apples for some reason. I don't know why. We just had a lot of apples. Because it was a hostel, right? So they had food for the people, and a lot of what they had was apples. And, you know, the hat and the apples, I guess, kind of fit the image. So I was just in complete, like, just in summary, I was a complete mess. But people had a good time. Even though I was bad, objectively terrible. People afterwards who had done, like, auctions at furry conventions told me, yeah, you were not very good. I was like, I know! I took, like, 5 hours to auction everything, but people had a good time. And so, for reasons that made me extremely surprised but happy, people told me, yeah, well, don't you want to do it next Galacon? Yeah? And from there, I actually got to be better at it. But what you said is so true. There's so much stuff that can just break in front of the guests, behind the scenes, everything. As long as they feel a good spirit and they have a great time. People are not as harsh as you think. There's always some people online who will be like, people weren't even there, who say, but it sucked. Whatever. In the end, of course, you try your best, and you should always try your best, but you are still just one person, and your team is still just one group of people. What you do together, as long as it's good and fun, even if it has flaws, that's what matters. So do not feel like I have to be perfect before I can help at a convention, volunteer, anything. No, you will make it good by the virtue of your enthusiasm for it.
Yeah, and they say that the history repeats itself, you know? Because just before you came, I had a baguette here.
I was told to ask you about that. Good thing you brought it up. I had no idea what it's about. I was just told.
What happened, yeah, people started bidding, and Damat bought it already for 500 crowns. That's our first auctioned item. You know, this is one of the things that happens much more often than everyone thinks. This is like the spice of the atmosphere. You cannot plan these kind of stuff.
No, you never can.
You can just play along because it's fun for everyone, including us, and it's great. But you can never plan such a stuff. It has to happen.
That's the thing that's as good about pony people. As I realized at Galacon 2012, pony people make their own fun. That obviously means that you need to give them some environment to have fun, right? It needs to be good vibes. But if you create a good vibe, everything else just kind of works, even if you have no clue why. Why do you think I sell Fanta-themed things at Galacon? That wasn't my idea. It wasn't Galacon's idea. It was nobody's specific idea. It was literally just, it was a Galacon 2013. John Animations left a half-drunk bottle of Fanta. It was opened. I just want to point this out. It was used, left it on the table where we later prepared the auction. So it was still there, and when people were, you know, having fun with the auction, just throwing money at things because bronies are crazy sometimes, someone was like, get yourself a Fanta. I'm like, John Animations was like disgusted. He was like, no, I drank from that. That's horrible. Why would you want this? People were like, no, it's have a fun. I was like, sure. So I don't know how much it went. It was like 30 euros, 40 euros. I don't know, remember. Yeah. He even signed it, of course, you know. But he said, you know, I drank from that. And that's like, I just told him, you know, you just have to. You just have to go with it.
I just do remember that once you made the auction of the custom bottle of the Fanta. It was at the Brony Fair, I think.
That's, yeah, someone painted a beautiful like piece of art onto a bottle.
And Perry was like, yeah, the starting bid is like 30 euros. And somebody from the crowd said, 300! And she just collapsed on the stage.
Yeah, of course. Because that's crazy, but it's a nice kind of crazy. So that's why we encourage that. So in the times after, I told people, okay, because people love bringing me bottles of Fanta, you did that to me, for instance.
Yes, that's
at
right.
my vendor table at Brony Days, suddenly there's this group of Czech and Slovak bronies just rolls up to my table, like, leaves just a huge amount of like 1.5 liter bottles or 2 liter bottles, those huge ones, right? At my table. Like, I don't even drink Fanta. I do not like Fanta.
We did not know.
No, but they were just
Nobody
like,
knew.
"Merp, here's a lot of Fanta, merp," Love that. I appreciated the spirit of it. But that's why I said, okay, I'm not just going to auction off random bottles. I wanted to see either you make it funny and creative and interesting, or I will stop doing it. Because a joke loses its charm when you just repeat the exact same joke over and over. It has to have an element of a surprise to it, right? That's comedy. So I said, okay, make it interesting, or I'm going to bury the joke forever. And what people did is...
She tried.
I tried, but people surprised me. They actually followed my challenge. I can't say my words were not listened to. People started making custom clocks on Fanta. There was a cosplay of the Knights of Fanta once. I think that was also a Czech idea, Czech-Slovak idea. Hello?
I'm not sure if he's here.
Yeah, but
She's around the convention.
they did that. That was such a wonderful thing. I loved that. We had a custom pony plushie Fanta. We had a plush bottle of Fanta, just made out of plush. We had so many custom items. Like now we had a guitar. Thanks, Dusty. He did a fantastic job. Didn't he? I'm too excited about the guitar. The guitar was awesome. So the energy you have with bronies, I learned, is as an organizer, your job isn't to make the fun like artificially. You give them an environment. You make cool things happen, but you give them the environment, and everything else is made by the people. If you have special guests and volunteers but no attendees, you don't have an event. The attendees in the end, we don't just say this to be cliched, but because it's true, the attendees are the heart of the event. If nobody comes, we don't have to make events. There's no purpose. So what I love about this fandom, and I haven't stopped loving that in 10 years, is that no matter what we do, you had a picture of it. God, look at me. Look at me, I look like a little baby. God, that was 9 years ago. But you had a picture of that ready? You have a picture of that ready. That's just, I love how quickly you had that. But yes, I'm I'm not trying to just talk the whole time, I promise. I really care about this aspect of it. As organizers, what we have learned, right, is that you give them the environment to have fun, and the attendees fill it. They fill the heart in. You give them the heart shape, and they become the heart. I love that.
True. That's the whole, yeah.
It's true. It's true.
That's the whole motivation of doing all of this. People, when we see that we are having fun, it keeps us going on. That's the whole thing. Maybe I will return a little bit back.
Yes, go.
If you wanted to know.
I always do.
I will show you some numbers. This is the amount of people. It's not 100% accurate because some people bought the tickets on the stage. This is on the stage, not on the stage, on the place. But this is how it looks like.
Can you make it bigger?
Yes.
Embiggen.
Yeah. Let's see. Zoom.
200.
200. You invited the device that makes me, hear these numbers in my head in your voice. So this is how it looks right now. And maybe that's another aspect that's common to Galacon and Czequestria. We are international conventions that makes the convention in English in their own countries. It's one of the reasons why you don't find many of these in Europe because of the language barrier. You have a lot of conventions in the English-speaking countries, and it's without any big issues, but we always have to face this. Like, you do it for locals, and you do it in your local language, then the people from abroad cannot come. If you make it international in English language, the foreign people can come, but some of the people of the country where you are making this event will not come because they do not speak the language. And that's always the dilemma you have to solve, especially in the beginning. And there were a lot of events who actually ended or even did not start because of this language barrier.
Yeah, it's a problem when you have to make, because you want to kind of do both, but you can't do both 100%. You have to make a decision, and you have to accept some people of either decision cannot be there. So, but you have to see, is the event sustainable? You showed numbers earlier from sales. Sustainable means, do we have enough income to make the thing happen? It's that basic, but that's unfortunately the biggest hurdle because everything costs money. If you can't afford the venue, then you can't have an event. If you can't afford, you know, all the transport, all the materials, all the things, you don't have an event. It's just the measures you have to take. That's why some conventions only happened once or twice or just didn't start to begin with. It's always the same challenge, and for many it's unfortunately a really big one.
Yes, that's true. It's usually a lot of work in the beginning, and when you make those big things done, it's much easier then. Or you can just cover up what did not work and just go on. That's it. You know, these numbers are also interesting from other perspective. Like, okay, about half of the people are from Czech Republic. We call ourselves Czech and Slovak brony fandom. When you look at these numbers, it's more like
Czech and Polish?
Germany fandom.
If we want to ignore the German elephant in the room, we can just at least say it's Czech and Polish. There's 30 Polish people here.
That's right. Yeah, this is also an interesting development since the very first Czequestria, because back then it was reversed.
Oh, were there more Slovak than
yes,
Czech bronies?
No. There were always more people from Czech than from Slovakia, but the Slovaks were at the second place of the amount of attendees. So this is also changing. You cannot like rely on your numbers forever. And also this time, it's like Fanny says that, okay, there are nearly as many people from Netherlands as from Slovakia.
Yeah.
That's also like, wow. Yeah, so I suppose this is something that makes Czequestria more international than the local event. It's just it looks like it converging this way. Is that the word?
What are you trying to say?
Convergence.
It's
mean this
yeah,
way.
it's converging.
Yes,
yeah.
That's the word. There are 6 people from other countries, but those might be mistakes because there is also somebody who claimed that he's from Ecuador, but I suppose that's not the case. If the person is here and the person is from Ecuador, please stand up. I would like to know. That would be great. Yes?
Do you have an idea how many attendees are you?
No. We do not save this data.
That would be interesting.
It's also a violation of the GDPR.
That's
you
fair.
cannot store this data. We just erase the names and the surnames and emails and stuff, and we just keep for example, the data about the countries, about if people are more than 18 years old and stuff like that.
Yeah, maybe make it like a voluntary survey afterwards.
Could be.
If you want.
We are going to have a survey, and we are definitely reading those surveys. You may not notice, but we actually really do.
Yes, they help a lot. Like, most people do not answer these, but they really help us, so please do.
Yes, thank you. Yes?
Like biggest Czequestria yet?
No, the last one was bigger. We are like 50 people, 50 attendees less than before. It was about 350 last time. And total amount of people were like 450. Also, these numbers are not so easy to create because there are different types of counting the attendees. Either you pay, either you count the sold tickets or you count them like the people per day. So right now, this number, attendees, that's 300 like physical people that are here or they bought the ticket. And this number is all people together with the volunteers, staff, guests, everyone. So like deduplicated, those people who had the free entry and they used it. Also, these two things, 300 people for the pre-party. Yay. We can make another convention out of pre-party. Because
it was very
believe
busy,
me,
yeah.
it's really hard, even in the capital city, to find a place like the restaurant where you can fit in like 300 people without actually renting the whole place. And if you do, like we did for yesterday, you usually face the same issues like yesterday, so it's hot, it's barely breathable, and this amount of people usually causes a mess. Also, the restaurant won't do this for free. They always want some deposit.
Of course.
We paid 300 euros as a deposit, which
Fair.
is not super much because it's deposit. But what they do, if you do not pay your bills, they take that money from the deposit.
Oh, so it costs the convention
Yeah.
money. Did this happen yesterday?
Yes.
Oh.
Try to guess how much.
300 euros.
No, 300 euros, no. That would be too much. That would piss us off. Huh? More than 50.
Oh.
About 80 euros.
Shame!
So, nah.
Shame on those
We
who
can-
stiffed the bill. Always pay your bill,
Let's
dang
say,
it.
yes, let's say some of them might be mistakes. Some of them might be like people forget to pay for a drink. It's happening all the time, even at the smaller meetups. It's a common thing. But if somebody forgets to pay for the food, it's not nice. So
No.
if somebody forgot, we would appreciate that you contact us.
Pay back
and,
Jamis.
Yeah, pay it to us, please. Because the thing is that if this happens and it costs money, like unnecessary money, you try to skip it next time. We don't want to, but if this trend continues, we won't have another.
Pre-party.
Yeah, that's right.
So pay if you forgot to pay something yesterday, it happens, but give Jamis his money.
Yeah, no big drama. Just please, if
Just
forgot,
slide him
we can
20
make the bills
euros, you
equal.
know.
Yes, please.
So basically what happened is that people bought food and drinks for 80 euros and didn't pay it.
In
Yes.
total,
In
yeah.
total.
Like, okay, they didn't like order enough.
No.
No.
The place was busy.
Just people ordered this and they did not pay that. I mean, some of them might be mistakes from the waiters. Some people might forget one drink, or people were changing the tables or something. We just did not expect it to be so high. So that's just
Yes.
one thing from the background. Yep, that's it. Also, you can see this. 202 people said they're going to LARP. How many people do you think there were in reality?
100?
Yeah, slightly over 100.
I was one of them, finally.
Yeah, but the thing is,
I loved it.
that you have to be prepared for 200 people. You have to buy the stuff, you have to print the materials, and all of this. So, for the next time, I've been thinking that we are going to make the LARP also paid. Just a symbolic thing, like, I don't know,
Very small amount.
15 euros.
Yeah,
maybe even less.
Just so
like
you know
5.
that those people actually will be there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because this happened also last time. It was partially our mistake because I'm attending the LARP was the default when you bought the ticket. The default was, yes, I'm going to Preparty, yes, I'm going to LARP. That was a mistake, my mistake.
Yes.
And I thought we fixed it, but the numbers are actually not that different from the last time. So if you want to go to LARP, definitely go for it, but please come.
I think if you're not sure, you would probably rather pick yes than no.
Yes, that's exactly. Many people.
I didn't know because we were getting here yesterday, and I sadly didn't make it. I wanted to go,
Yeah.
but I didn't make it.
We always count on the fact that some people say yes and they cannot come. That's fine. But if it's half of the attendees, something is wrong.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I mean, weather forecast could also influence the thing. There might be other factors, but still, I think, yeah, if we put like €5, pay €5 more, people will think twice if they buy it, or if they say yes, or if they come.
That's
It's
how
just a symbolic thing.
That's how it
Nothing else.
usually is. You attach money to it, and then suddenly people actually pay more attention.
Yeah, unfortunately, it works that in many ways.
It's the same reason, actually. Maybe as a quick aside, that's kind of that was the main motivation we had when Galacon started having paid autograph sessions. We didn't want to do it the same way the American conventions do it, right? Who here has been to an American convention? Just yeah, a few of you. You've seen the prices there for autographs. They're quite a bit higher than they are at Galacon. That is not some sort of question of, oh, Galacon is really nice and they're all greedy. It's a different pricing model. The way it works is that culturally speaking, at American conventions, and I noticed also at a lot of like English-speaking conventions in general, like when I went to the UK several years ago for a Star Trek convention, it was the same way. The tickets are a bit cheaper, but as a result, the autographs are much more expensive because the VIPs are not paid as much money up front. What Galacon does, and what a lot of European events do, because in Europe this is not as common, like in the US they just think nothing about paying $30 for an autograph. You tell here someone €30 for an autograph, most people will be like, yeah, right. That's something we knew, especially when Galacon was new, and you know, we had to still prove ourselves, and people weren't as sure yet about how all these things work. For a lot of people, Galacon was their first convention, first bigger convention. It ended up being a thing where he said, okay, we're going to negotiate a higher upfront cost for the VIPs, but then the autographs are much cheaper. But we at first even thought maybe we make the autographs free, and I believe the first time we actually did do that, someone correct me if 2013 autographs might have been free. But yeah, they were? Yeah, and that was the problem, because guess what happens when you make something free? Everyone wants it. Because it's free, it doesn't matter what it is. It could have been a used washing machine. Someone would have wanted it. So the lines were like this through the whole building. You know what, at Galacon, where we have to have a wing over there, then the long one over there, then we have a wing? The lines were that long. So we realized, okay, we have to make it cost something, because otherwise the autograph hours run overtime by like another hour or two, because that's actually what happened. And the VIPs were exhausted. It was not good. So we literally had to make it cost something, even if it wasn't necessary yet for our prices. Over the years it became important for the prices, because you know, everything gets more expensive, unfortunately. So it was literally just, you make sure people actually only come if they want to pay, because you attach a monetary value to it. There's a psychology to it that is actually completely correct.
Yeah, that's true. That's nice. Another point about the guests and the stuff around.
Yeah.
There is, I think, with the guests, especially VIP guests, there is much more going in the background than it's visible to the audience. The thing is that when you, okay, maybe we'll start from another point. There are different types of guests. And
yes.
It's also different between the US and the European guests and the local guests and the show's guests. Usually, when you invite a guest from United States
or Canada,
who's working on the original show, typically the voice actors of the main six or the script writers, anyone from that team, the first thing is that you're dealing with their agents. These people, I mean, the show staff, they're professionals.
Yes.
They're coming, they're making the show. They're also doing it for fun, That's true.
But
yeah, it's business.
It's their job.
It's their job, and they're like paid by the convention to make it awesome. Of course, they're happy to be here. They're happy to be with the attendees, also with the organizers. There are fun stuff in the background and things, but it all has to be legally arranged in advance.
And it has to be professional. You know, they take time out of their schedule for us. They have to obviously make up the money, the travel, you know, expensive and long. It's just a lot of factors that come together. And the person that you as an organizer like dealing with police, even though it makes sense that they exist, is the agent. Because it's basically like, here's the guest, here's you. You're like, oh, hello, and then here's the agent. The agent's like, oh, wait a second, we have to discuss this, here's my proposal, I want this and this and this, and it's the agent's job, because that's what they're paid to do, to get the best deal for their customer, their client, who is the VIP. So what they say first is usually something completely outrageous, where they're like, we want all of these things, we want you to gift us the moon, we want it gift wrapped on our table tomorrow, and you're like, you have to tell them, nah, no.
Yeah, it's like the regular business negotiation.
Exactly. It gets really nitty gritty. Yeah. I've done this once for Galacon. It gets really like, oh.
I mean, it would be unfair to say that it's bad that these people have agents.
No, it's good.
They need them. It's just a more complicated process than it seems from outside. And when you hit this ball for the first time, it's sometimes like. Especially if the agent is a different talking type than you are.
Yes.
Like, we've been dealing with one of the agents who's not so talkative. Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. But it's fine. It's these types of people, and they say, okay, we want our special guest to have signatures for this price. Because that always has to be dealt with in advance.
Yes.
How much you pay for the signatures, how much you pay for the photos, how much you pay for the combos. And this is actually done in a way that the guest, you can notice it at the conventions, that the guests, when you take the signature or a photo, they make, you know, the notes, the marks.
Yes.
They're counting how many signatures they make. And then they will charge the event for that.
Yes.
That's how it works.
Yes.
And how much the event charge the attendees, that's actually organizer's problem.
Yeah.
And the decision. I remember that we've been dealing with this person, and the person said, yeah, we want the signatures for the guests at Czequestria for like 15 euros. And I was like,
no, that's
okay,
not going to work.
Maybe Germans are going to pay for that, but not the Czechs. And
Germans
I just replied, and he was like, no, it's totally worth it and stuff. Okay, then my vice chair, who's actually much more experienced in the business negotiations, he came and said, okay, I'm going to handle this. He wrote like 2 A4 pages describing the economical situation in our country, average salaries and stuff like that, how much people are actually willing to spend for the cultural things, for these things, explaining that this is happening for the first time. People are not so used to pay in this because this is the post-communist part of the Europe and stuff.
You have to explain all of this, because they come with the expectations that every convention works like an American large convention. And that is not true at all, but they want to always just assume that first. And you have to be the jerk who tells them, because that's deliberate. It's a deliberate technique, you know. They say first what they want because they have the thing you want, which is the VIP. And so they know you're in the position, you're put in the hot seat to say, yeah, we can't do that. And they know that's not a fun feeling, so they put that on you, of course.
And the result of this conversation was like, yeah, thank you for explaining your dollar. We'll do it this way. That was all.
So did that work out for you, or did it not?
Yes.
It worked.
Eventually it worked out.
Good. that was my experience. But one time Galacon had me do the negotiations as well with a certain agent of 2 certain guests that we had invited in 2013. I think it was 14 actually. No, it might have been 14. I'm bad with time. It's you know, everything in my brain is jumbled at this point. So I had to negotiate as well, and of course, you know, said agent also was like, you know, of course we want business class flights, we want this, we want that, we want this price. A ticket. I didn't have to write 2 pages about the economy of the post-communist world. Admittedly, I did not have to do that, but I admire you did that, because in the end what I said was kind of a shorter version of something similar, trying to explain no German person attending our event will pay this. It's just not going to happen. And we had to say, but look, Germany is so pretty. I felt like a stupid travel agent explaining, no, but Germany is really nice, actually. You should just let them come anyway. It's negotiation. You have to make it look attractive to them, but you still feel a bit weird when you have no experience doing this, like I did. I felt just like a stupid jerk, being like, I don't have money, can you just come anyway because I'm so nice to you? But that's negotiation. And that's a lot of the stuff that also just happens in emails behind the scenes that you will never see, because it's obviously, you know, like private, but we can just, you know, relegate parts of it to you, just to give you an idea of when you say, I really want this cool person to come. We think so too. We would love that cool person to come. There have been cool people that we've tried to make come to Galacon for years, and it just didn't work out for multitudes of reasons. It's one of those things where once you tell us we want this to happen now, then we have to set all of these dominoes in motion behind the scenes.
I think
it's
we
a lot.
A question over there.
Yeah. Sadly.
Yeah. You mean the last Pegasus, for example? Yeah, we all knew that.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
That's actually true. Some of the writers, for instance, like Larson, for instance, didn't used to have an agent. People like Daniel Ingram didn't used to have agents dealing with conventions, at least. They would have agents more like for dealing with jobs, you know. Later on, more people definitely became more cautious, because when the fandom was really new, everything was positive and exciting. But even positive things have reality to them. And things...
And we face the reality.
Reality was some conventions. Not most, just some, but some are not well run. Some might actually be fraud and lies, and then you have to be careful. And
then, that's it.
Yeah.
And let's say that's the show VIP guests you invite. Then you have a local voice actors, which we, well, obviously, English-speaking countries do not invite them because they have just one version of the My Little Pony show, but in other countries, and I think all non-English speaking countries, all My Little Pony conventions in non-English speaking countries actually invite their local voice actors, which is really nice.
I love that personally, yes.
Me too.
They add something to it,
and
to
that's
the
usually
picture.
Totally different world, because these people are living in absolutely something else. It's like, yeah, where's the contact to that person? Yeah, this person actually plays in this theater, so you pick up the phone. Hey, I need a contact to this person. Yeah, sure. Here's her phone number. Oh, okay. Hello, this is Jaroslav Haken speaking. I'm a chairman of Czequestria. We are My Little Pony fans, and you are voicing one of the characters, right? Yes, and we would like to invite you as a guest. Okay, so where should I be and when? Okay.
I love this, right?
That's how it works. The last time we had Mrs. Petra Hobzová, which is the voice of the Sunset Shimmer in Czech, and she was so surprised that she got a free coffee at the bar. That's almost usually you have in the contract with the guest. You also pay for the food and some how it's called, spare money. Yeah. In German, it's Taschengeld.
Yeah, allowance. It's called an allowance in English.
Or per diem.
Yes.
Stuff like that. And you have to pay that. And suddenly you have another person who's also a voice actor, and they will tell you, oh, you're giving me a free coffee. Oh, so thank you so much.
That's both cute and kind of sad almost. You're
Yes.
like, oh no, you didn't think we would feed you. You thought we were just gonna like put you on a leash outside the venue when we don't need you. Like, what do you think? Like, but that's true. That is absolutely true. Like, there's a huge contrast between English-speaking voice actors, especially ones that have experience dealing with fans, who have a whole setup for all of this, a procedure. It's standardized. Meanwhile, when we invited German voice actors to Galacon the first few years, I think almost all of them basically reacted with complete surprise. Some of them didn't even know what a convention really was. They were like I remember we invited the German voice of Discord in 2013, I believe.
Ah, yeah?
Yeah, Michael
He's
Pan.
also the German voice of the Data from Star Trek, right?
Yes, and he told us not even the Star Trek conventions invite him.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. He just said, you know, in Germany they have Star Trek conventions all the time, but they don't invite me because I'm just not that important to them, because they only care about, you know, the actual actors. He wasn't even bitter about it. He said he meant Brad Spiner once, you know, the actual actor of Data, and they just watched like things together at the hotel room or something. They were just hanging out. It was just chill. They were just having a good time. It was nice. Like, so it wasn't bitter that he said, I don't like this guy, he gets the attention. It was just, like he said, I never get the attention. And he voices a million things in German dubs. You watch anything in German, you've probably heard him some point. And he was like, he expected like 50 people would be at Galacon. He thought, oh, it's gonna be okay, I guess it's gonna be like some small thing, right? And then it's like hundreds and hundreds of people. He was was just, if you saw him there, he was just like, he made just these huge eyes the whole weekend. Like, he's like an older guy, and he was so completely surprised by everything. It was actually kind of cute, honestly. It was like, oh my God. He took pictures of everyone just randomly. He didn't charge money for it. He was just take pictures here, take pictures of the drawings, just everything. He thought it was the greatest. It was just really, really cute.
Yeah,
and he just had no clue. He just didn't expect it. So when you deal with people on like different layers of fandom, basically, I think it's really good to remember, as much as the original, of course, is cherished the most because, you know, it is the original. People tend to watch it in the original language if they can, because then you get the direct idea. A dub is always an interpretation, right? It's a translation, but it can never be one-to-one. It's always a reinterpretation in your culture, in your language. So I understand that people tend to prefer the original. I do too. I watched most My Little Pony always just in English. I've only watched some of the episodes in German. But I think it's good to remember there's lots of children, for instance, who don't speak English yet. They watch it in their home language. There's lots of people who just aren't very fluent in English. They like watching it in their home language. And there just is a new interpretation, new performance to it that I think is good to remember. Even if you didn't love the German version of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, you can say, hey, it's good it exists. And that actress was also, or that actor was also in 5,000 other things I liked. So at least appreciating them, I think, is really good, and they're so happy. Seriously, anytime you go to any of these dub actors or people who are more on the sidelines, they're just so happy that they get to be there. So if you say hi to them and tell them you like their work, I promise it makes their day. It's just
sometimes also a little bit scared, as you said.
Yes.
When we invited the Czech voice actor, I think she said that at the panel.
Yes.
That
she was.
Originally, I thought this is gonna be like 30 people, parents with their kids. And when I entered the venue, I was like, oh.
Hundreds of adults.
Yeah, and I think I scared her a bit because I've been escorting her to the room where the VIPs are chilling out. And I was saying, yeah, this is our first vendor room. Here the vendors, they are mostly from abroad. And she was like, okay. And here's another voice actor. She's playing Mist Main. Oh.
Yeah, it's true.
That's so nice, and those people are so happy to actually see that there is a community that appreciates their work.
Yes.
And everything. That's really amazing.
I remember the first time we had Jennifer Weiss at Galacon. She was here this year at Galacon, you know, the German voice of Pinkie Pie. And she was there the second time this year. She was there several years before. I think it was out, so 2013. I think she might have been there with Michael Pan. Oh, 14 maybe, yes. 14. And so and she was really, really shy. She was really intimidated by everything, just because she had no idea that it would be, you know, hundreds and hundreds of people, huge crowds, just everyone dressed, everyone just colorful. She liked it, but she almost cried a bit before the opening ceremony. She was just so scared, like, oh my God, I don't know what to say. Will they like me? Oh no, I know. I felt so bad. Just kind of, obviously I didn't, but I kind of just wanted to hug her and be like, no, it's going to be okay. Like, you see, in the end, the VIPs, we cherish them for their work. They're special to us, but they're human beings at the end of the day. And if they're scared, or if they're shy, or if they have questions, you just help them. You just treat them like humans who are just also out of their depth sometimes, like all of us.
Also, one interesting fact that is not so visible at the conventions, as Perry said, VIP guests and all the guests are just the human beings.
Yes.
So, what you see them doing on the stage is not it's not necessarily their own personality that they have in their real lives. So when they go off the stage, they might be introverts, they might be shy, they don't want to hang around with a lot of people. There are a lot of these in the original cast, so that's the reason why there is limited time when they can meet with the attendees. Some people do not care, you know.
Certain people.
Yes, certain people. I can imagine too. It was really cool for the first time when I saw Mitch Larson walking through the convention and talking to people. That was so amazing, because until then I saw guests only on the stage and not in the crowd.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And of course, then there is Elley Ray.
That's what I meant. Certain
Yes.
pony people,
Well,
certain
I mean,
actors are.
I never met somebody with such energy and such dedicated, having such fun and doing
Joy.
crazy stuff.
Yes, pure
she really
joy.
wants to enjoy the life, and it's really genuine. She's doing that all the time.
Yeah, no, you go to anywhere you see her, she doesn't just do it as an act, it's just, she wants to have all this joy. She's literally like, if you cut her open, obviously please don't, you would just find raw joy. She's just made of it, basically, and she just wants to experience it with everybody. So when you see her just going around just throwing candy at people, you can't really stop her. Like, a lot of the things she does are technically against safety rules or something, but it's not like you can tell her no.
Who's been at the last Czequestria? Yes. You remember sea ponies in the fountain outside?
Yes.
That was not planned.
No, that was entirely her idea.
Yeah, I just said, yeah, and you know, we did some fun at the Galacon. We had those sea pony tails. Oh, it was you. Yes. Do you still have the tails? Yes. Bring them tomorrow. Okay. I'll find 5 volunteers and we'll go to the fountain as a sea ponies. Okay. And it was awesome. I really liked it, but I never thought that, you know, a VIP guest from the original show stuff would be capable of doing something like this.
Yep.
I think nobody else actually is.
Yeah, that's
well, I think Mitch Larson is...
don't get me started on him.
And Peter knew maybe too, he's also...
I made a huge
make fun.
I made a huge mistake once. This was, mistake, but I helped organize like a charity stream. This was not directly associated with Galacon, but we have several people were involved with Galacon. I think this was 2012 or 2013 as well, where we did charity streams. People could like watch artists and donate to a good cause. It was organized by Bronies for Good, and they organized, a lot of like live interviews with VIP guests over voice. We made a huge mistake. We put Emma Larson and Peter New in the same voice call. You never do this. It is like crossing the streams in Ghostbusters. Because, like, the idea is, right, every guest understands it's a charity event, it has to be safe for work. We had artists, draw commissions and draw pretty pictures, requests. It had to be safe for work, everything but voice, it had to be safe for work. The interviews were all safe for work except that time. We had M.A. Larson and Peter and you they just like each other a lot. Like they also shit talk each other a lot, but they're friends. Like they do it as friends. The problem is they were just talking to each other like there wasn't an audience, basically. They were just talking like it was a podcast, and you couldn't even interrupt them. They started talking about like random things about the show. Like there was a thing, and I'm like, this is not exactly, you know, very convention friendly, but don't worry, I will word it convention friendly. I couldn't stop them. They started talking about what if Princess Cadence went on a murdering spree?
Ah, yes, I do remember that one.
Yes, I remember it too, because I was the interviewer at that time. I was mortified. I was like a ghost, basically, at that point, because I tried to stop them. I literally couldn't. They started going in great gory detail about all the things Cadence would do with her various guns that she apparently now has. And like I said, I will spare you the sordid details, but it was awful. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't a community guest who wasn't experienced. It was two supposed professionals who were talking about Princess Cadence violence. It's like,
guys just wanna have fun.
that's what I mean. That what? No. I'm sure there's a recording maybe somewhere. I cannot tell you where. But that's what I'm saying. When you have the person,
there is. You don't want to search it.
The genuine personalities of your guests, like you want to make them comfortable so they feel like they can be themselves and have a good time. I just want to point out, when you are in charge of them, sometimes that backfires. Yes. Very badly.
Maybe another thing came to me. People often ask, why don't you make more photo sessions and more signing sessions at the events? Because the guests are all the time there and they have like free time, right?
Sort of.
Try sometimes to extract the guests' program from the convention, and you will find out that aside from the lunch and the introductions, there are not many free times. You know, their time is utilized to very last minute, and also all those sessions are pretty exhausting if you're not Elley Ray.
Yeah.
If she's watching us, hi, we love you.
We love you.
What I wanted to say that I usually say, okay, try to write your signature 300 times in a row.
Yeah.
And for the photos, try, take a flash, keep your eyes open,
be
keep
smiley
your eyes open,
and
smile,
happy,
and let the flash in your eyes like 300 times in a row. Then you will understand why you cannot make more photo sessions with the guests.
And obviously, every guest, every person says hello, says, I love what you do. You have to react to them. You have to say, yeah, I appreciate it. And you have to be really nice. You have to be up, you have to be on, switched on the whole time. That's exhausting. At some point, you're just like, I just want to not talk to anybody for 2 hours. Of course, you also sometimes have to allot for, mishaps. Jet lag is a big factor when you deal with guests from abroad. Right. Sometimes when you deal with guests coming to places like, Prague or Germany, sometimes you also have to account for hangover.
Hangover, yes.
Yes, some people will be hangover. It happens sometimes, because sometimes the VIPs enjoy the beer a lot. Sometimes maybe...
And not just VIPs.
Yeah, no.
I mean, community guests are much more prone to this issue.
That is true.
Every convention has a rules, and there is a always funny remark that if you read the event rules and you find something that looks strange, like why the heck somebody would put this into the rules, there is always some cool story behind that.
Yes, there's always a reason.
Yeah, like I remember one of the Czech conventions has a rule that you're not allowed to walk from window to window in the higher floor than the basement during the night. Because somebody obviously tried.
Oh, you mean outside,
yes,
on the wall?
Outside,
oh,
from one room to another.
Oh.
Like, yeah, please don't do that. And since the last time, we have a rule that says, please do not drink with the community guests before their performance.
Yeah.
And there is a reason for that.
Yeah. It is true that that's mostly a community guest thing, but I definitely, again, I will not name, of course, anybody, but sometimes VIPs are like, oh, this is so tasty, I'm going to have another one. And then the next morning, you're like, okay, VIP guest is a bit late for the opening ceremony. Oh, I know why. It happens, again, because they're people, and sometimes, they are very professional, they do their best, but sometimes, things happen.
Yes, also the rules, we try to enforce them, but usually we prefer, there are different approaches how to handle the rules of the event.
Yeah.
Czequestria has the approach like, please, this convention has no brain, use your own. So the rules are a little bit vague on purpose. There are just some stuff listed. And if you push the boundaries, the volunteers and the staff will push you back. There are other events who has a lot of specific rules. By the way, even if you have rules just for 2 pages, nobody reads them.
Yes. They don't read them at 1 page either. So.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's not an excuse, we will just enforce them anyway.
Also with the GDPR rules, that's the same.
Yeah.
We put a lot of effort to make our GDPR rules short and understandable for everyone. Nobody reads that. There are other conventions who take a different approach, so there is like 30 pages PDF with the complete GDPR stuff.
It's not your their problem if you didn't read it.
That convention should probably, watch the link if somebody actually clicks it. Because I'm really wondering if somebody ever read it, aside of the lawmaker who made that. Yeah, but that's also other thing you have to deal with it.
Law, yeah.
Yeah, the law and the stuff. For example, one of the examples that's also maybe not visible, that here at Czequestria, we have to pay a fee from every sold ticket to the city hall. If you make an
local
event
government
with a paid entrance, you have to pay the fees to the city hall.
Yep.
Try to guess how much % of your ticket goes directly to the city hall. Just like that. 20%? Yes, it's 20%.
Whoa! Wow.
So
I didn't know that.
A lot.
That's in general the worst thing to deal with are rules that are completely out of your control. Like, I get basic things like fire safety, it keeps us all safe, things like that, health regulations. Makes sense, you don't want to food poison people. But then when you get to rules that get really specific and really weird, what was the reason why you couldn't advertise the charity auction until like yesterday?
It's been a law.
It was a law thing, wasn't it?
It's in a law.
Can you mention that?
What?
Can you mention that? Because I thought that was weird. I thought that was so crazy.
The charity auction is probably the most bureaucracy complicated thing to organize at Czequestria. I'm not sure about other conventions.
It's a thing.
But legally it's classified as a public collection of the money, like when you make a charity donations to the poor people, to Ukraine, to the flood victims, whatever. And it has very strict rules that you have to follow. And one of them that you, of course, you cannot make it as a physical person. You have to be a legal entity, which we are. But you need to prove that you do not own the country anything. So
like
from no
the
social
money.
Insurance, no from the financial ministry, you need to prove
taxes.
that you do not own on the taxes. And we knew this from the last years. But this year, pretty recently, when we applied, because City Hall has to approve it first, and then we can make the charity auction. They told us that this year they have a new rules. You need to prove, you need a paper from all medical insurance companies in the Czech Republic. There are 7.
7.
You have to ask all of them officially to, for a proof that you do not own them.
You do not own them, so you have to, get me straight, I have to write to 7 different insurance companies to just tell them, please confirm that I don't owe you money.
Yes, exactly.
For a charity auction, medical insurance for a charity auction.
You know, the most funny thing is that this rule actually makes sense if you have an organization with employees.
Yes.
We have none.
Yes.
But it doesn't matter. City Hall told just, yeah, newly Ministry of Internal Affairs wants these papers. Okay. One of the insurance companies is the medical insurance company of the Ministry of Internal Affairs. And that's the one we've been waiting for more than 1 week. So that's the reason why the charity auction was announced so late, before legally we cannot do that. By the way, we have 15 minutes, so if you have any questions regarding anything we do around the conventions or about other events we've been to, just please stand up and ask. We have the microphone here if you want to speak to the microphone, or you can just shout.
But be good at shouting, please.
Okay, I think we will prepare the microphone anyway because of the live stream, right?
Yes, the live stream should be able to hear you.
So here's the microphone. Please
come up to that.
Or we can ask somebody from the staff to actually hand you.
Yeah, we don't bite. We're nice.
We don't bite.
As you see, we're really just dinguses too.
Yes.
So bureaucracy is also why Everfree Encore had to be postponed, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. One of the local government decided of the area where Everfree Encore was going to be held, Galacon's concert event, that's, more loose, more fun. Obviously means, people will be loud, people will be having fun. It's like camping with your friends and there's a lot of cool pony music. No, because the local government decided, no, there needs to be lights out and quiet after 10 p.m. In the middle of nowhere, by the way. This isn't in the middle of a city where that makes sense. It was out in the middle of nowhere on a farm, on a field, But you're still being told, you have to be quiet after 10. That's not going to work. Make that work for music festival, for like a big, evening thing. That's not going to work. That's going to make a crap event. So many rules and restrictions like that were put on Everfree Encore at the last second, which is basically, it's just like, it was like a month away, less even. So they said, no, we're not going to make a crap event, we're going to reevaluate this.
Can you bring the microphone to the middle?
We're going to reevaluate this because it is easier to postpone, make a great event, than you make a crap event, because people, Shigeru Miyamoto once wisely said, you can, a good game that's delayed, comes out as good will be remembered positively. A bad game that comes out immediately is remembered forever as crap. So that's the same with events. We'd rather postpone and find a place that has better local laws, because this is always dependent. Is the local government nice to you? Because suddenly a lot of events that are local to this area will not have these problems, because they know someone in the local government, and suddenly everything works for them. So if you're an outsider, you have to get lucky that someone there likes you. If you don't, then it's a problem too. Like, you have to work with people, and people will make people decisions, which are sometimes very biased.
Okay, another question, please.
How many volunteers do you have, and does that have an impact on your finances?
How many volunteers? I'm not sure if there is a head of the volunteers in this room. No, we have about 40. They're part of the number, the difference number between this and this.
Every
Half
pony.
of them are volunteers. They do all the work that's invisible, and they're really, really helpful. It would not be possible without them, let's say. And how does it impact the finances? Well, volunteers, and my eternal thanks to them, they're willing to work for free for the water, food, t-shirt, and free entrance. At least here. I mean, different events handle volunteers in a different ways.
Galacon is basically the same, though.
Yeah. There is a big difference between European conventions and also the Americans. We probably don't have a time for that, but there are a lot of differences, especially coming from the culture of the country.
Yes.
The Europe is very different from United States, believe me. So it basically does not affect our funding.
What does affect it, though, like just as an additure, like if you have less volunteers, you have too few volunteers, that affects the whole event, including your money, because it might literally make it impossible to run certain things or have certain things be managed in the way you want. So
that's right, how to say it? If you don't have enough volunteers, you have to pay the money for doing their job, or you just omit that thing.
Yes.
So I think we don't have any troubles regarding this at this point. And also, let's say I'm eternally thankful for everyone, because many volunteers, for example, our sound engineers and our live stream engineers, our applause to them, they totally deserve it, because most of the equipment we are using, it's theirs. It's their hobby and they are doing it for free. So free for all of us, and we can spare that money and invest it to other parts that cannot be replaced by our work or effort.
Yeah,
So
renting
that's
equipment,
how it
for instance, professional sound
Yes.
equipment is expensive. If you don't have people who bring theirs, you have to rent it. Costs a lot. So you are right in the sense that having volunteers who are doing the manpower and doing the equipment saves a lot of money. But if you have to get rid of things, obviously you might technically save money, but you also have a less good event. So,
Yep.
for instance, Galacon, I can say, you know, this year, as our wonderful volunteer Lee pointed out at the closing ceremony, we had less volunteers than we would have liked. It always means less people have to do more. Basically, if you sign up as a volunteer, you have to make it so everyone does a bit less. It's like the more hands carry the same load, the better. But as a result, it means, you know, if that reaches a critical mass where you literally can't stretch the people you have far enough, there will be just things that have to be cut, just things that cannot happen. And that is always the worst option, the least favorite option. But that's why we always ask so, you know, bitterly for volunteers, because even just a few more hands has a huge impact on an entire event. It's like ripple effect, right? Everything is positively affected. So if you're ever in doubt, you want a convention you really love to happen better, more, or more stably, volunteer. You make everything better. It really, really matters.
Yes, that's right. And all conventions always welcome volunteers. There is never enough volunteers.
No,
for
if you
conventions.
think,
Definitely
oh, I'm not good enough, yes, you are. I promise. It's not just because we're desperate, but it's because you might think what I do doesn't matter, but it does. Even if you can just carry
we'll find something
things.
for you to do, or we'll teach you something to do.
Exactly. You will learn so much. And if you think I'm just carrying stuff, you're the person who carries the stuff. It's important. I promise.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
A big thanks to volunteers.
Yes, big applause to the volunteers of all conventions. Thank you.
Yes. Please, always.
Right, another question? Yes?
Hi.
Hi.
I just wanted to test the microphone, basically.
It's okay.
There's one question, actually, especially on the financial things.
Mm-hmm.
The Galacon had some troubles with some issues with the venue, basically. It was getting really, really expensive.
30% increase from rent between 2019 and 2022.
Was it
30%.
Was it the same experience here in Prague as well?
The venue rents are rising, but I have to say we've been lucky in this. Because last time the venue rent increased 2 months before 2 months before the event, but we already had the signed contract. And this time the prices already went high too, but we already had the signed contract.
Oh.
So we saved a lot. I mean, and when I say a lot, then I mean a lot.
Yeah.
You know, another thing is that this is a government-owned building, or the city part-owned building. So all the contracts we have in the venue with the venue are actually public. So if you search, there are pages in Czech Republic, and you can see the contract itself. Mm-hmm. So you can compare the prices. You know how much we actually paid for the venue. It's a public information.
Yeah, the Galacon, it's like, it was a bit more problematic because it obviously depends on your contract as well. As far as I understand it, don't quote me on this, I'm not the finance person, so I'm obviously not going to go for extra numbers here. But as far as I understood it, Galacon had already made a down payment, but it was one of those things you pay the rest later. And they still had the means to say, well, too bad, the rest is more now. So because it is a semi-public building, it is technically owned by the local like community as far as I understand it, but it's semi-private. It is run by, you know, I think a private sub-organization or something. Again, don't quote me on this, but that's the reason why they can do some of these things. And they can say, well, yeah, but all our, you know, we also couldn't open for 2 years. We didn't have anything going on for 2 years. We need to make the money back. So from their perspective, I understand the reason, but the increase is so humongous that, I mean, it's not a secret when I tell you that's obviously not something that conventions can keep doing. So that forces conventions in general, if prices are like this all of a sudden, like 30% more, you can't just make your ticket prices 30% more. That's a lot. Yep. You can't just randomly do that. And sponsor tickets help us a ton. Those are really important. They help us so much. But they can't make up for all of that. So it forces conventions to go to a different venue possibly entirely, and then they lose out on all of the money. So you kind of wonder, it might have made sense to their bookkeeper maybe to just say, increase, but it might also mean we just never come back because we literally can't afford it. So it's a difficult time right now for conventions because everything in a time where, you know, COVID is still a thing, but it's post its worst parts of it. Events can at least happen again, but the landscape has changed. People might be not as willing to travel anymore. Venues are much more expensive. Inflation is a huge problem in terms of currency as well. It's a wild world right now. So a lot of convention planners have to go from off the beaten path of what we know, because what worked the previous years might not work the same way anymore.
Yeah, that's what we talked about in the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, all your business intelligence data from previous years are almost unusable now.
Unfortunately, it's a different world. So right now, more than ever, that's my plea. Support conventions that you enjoy. If you can afford to buy a sponsor ticket, buy a sponsor ticket. If you want to volunteer, if you have the time for it, volunteer. Yes, exactly.
Yes, that's amazing.
I'm bad
Thank
at this.
you.
I appreciate that a lot because
I have money. Woo.
it is an uncertain time. Like, I'm not saying this to be like, oh, cry, cry. It's literally, but it's just an uncertain time. A lot of our experience now has to be put into new forms and into new planning, new financial planning especially. And we really, really hope that in this time you all will keep supporting us. The fandom changes all the time. Your people have different interests. That's all okay. But all of these factors at the same time, with COVID, with, you know, price increasing, with inflation, with fandoms changing, that is really hard. So when you support us now, more than ever, it will make a huge difference for each event, no matter small or big. We are all in this problem now. This is all an issue for us now. So support conventions, it makes the difference.
Yeah, we have a running joke in our organization team since the beginning of the Czequestria, and maybe even predate to that with the big brony meetups we organized. And it's called the Golden Bricks from Czequestria. Because back then people thought, yeah, we are paying you this amount of money. You have to be drowning in the cash. Like,
oh,
no.
Yeah. The oldest myth. We are not. No convention is drowning in cash.
If you want to make the convention for money, you have to make something like a Comic Con that's based on the vendor selling. If you're doing it for people, like the conventions in the Europe, and also pony conventions in the United States. As far as I know, nobody is paid for that.
No, not even BronyCon, you know, like 10,000 people went there in 2019. It was still not a profit event. It was not for profit.
Yes? Do you have a note or to that?
I have a question.
Question after that, okay.
Make it quick, yes. We have to, sorry, I'm talking too
All right,
much.
I think I'm already done, or almost done. That was what I was asking. But is there like might there be like an issue in the future that Czequestria might not happen in this?
Czequestria does not have a financial issues now. We always did it like be slightly profitable. That's where we are buying. In the sense you reached zero. Yeah. So it's. We got some extra money, and we are using to using it for buying the equipment, like the beamers and the cables and stuff like that. So we don't have to rent them for extra money.
It goes directly into the event.
No. What I was asking actually is there an issue that there might be like you don't get the venue for another event like in the future or something? Well, it's uncertain, of course, but
No,
is there like a second venue here in Prague, or is that more
I think this is the best venue.
Okay.
For this type of event and for this size of event.
Yeah.
We tried to research other places, but they haven't been so suitable for the activities. The main problem is that you can rent a conference place that does have one big hall and one small hall. That's all. So if you want to have music games, if you want to have workshops, if you want to have vendors, you need a building with a lot of
Rooms,
places
yeah.
that are separated. And that's an issue. And that's also the reason why we are in this old-fashioned building, because new buildings are built in a different way, because usual needs of the people who are organizing any kind of gatherings are different than the needs of the conventions.
Yep.
Yeah, quite like this venue actually.
Yep.
It's cool.
For instance,
Me
just
too.
to
There's a park around.
Yeah, just to compare, I have been, I was at a Star Trek convention several years ago, and it was literally just in a giant old plane hangar. Just one huge hall, and then they just put, like curtains and stuff to separate the rooms. It means there's a lot of space for people to walk, but the acoustics are awful. You literally have to walk like from the floor to all the way to the really tall ceiling. You need to have curtains just to make a semblance of decent acoustics for like the main panels. They did that, but the side panel rooms, I could not go to any of the side panels. It was almost impossible to hear anything. Like if you have any auditory processing troubles or your English is not your first language, forget it. Acoustics are just like an old plane hangar. It's terrible. So, for instance, they clearly had to have all that space because thousands of people were coming, but so you see the disadvantages were obvious. So here, for instance, you have separate actual halls. I have never been more grateful for walls. Just
Yes,
walls.
That's right. Okay, another question?
Nope, I'm done.
Yeah, thank you,
Okay,
Val.
thank you.
So never take a good venue for granted, basically. They're hard to get.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. My name is Volduke. I write for Horse News. So
Yes, hello, Horse News.
I need to ask you, just relating to the what you mentioned a minute ago. Firstly, I want to preface this. You might say everything's gotten 30% crueler. Just my little joke. You
can take the microphone out and stand normally.
You can also speak a tiny bit more slowly.
Okay.
Because, just a tiny bit.
I use this opportunity, but no offense. You are the person I saw at most of the conventions, and I know you better from behind than from the front. Because you're always at the stage going down and show your back to the whole audience. So
This is
let's make this a first convention when you're standing like this. You're standing out of the crowd anyway.
I'm on camera right there. This is so embarrassing, but thank you. So,
it's all good.
So
it's just a fart joke.
The obvious question is, have your business attitudes, have your approaches to organizing events changed since COVID? Especially as, everything financially has gotten 30% crueler.
What's the changes of the COVID, because of the COVID?
Yeah, like in the attitude, the approach because of the new challenges.
Yes, what precautions do you take, things like
that? The biggest challenge is to estimate how many people will actually come. That's that comes to this thing. That's the biggest challenge. Yeah. Because when you do not know 1 month before the event how many people you will get, and 1/3 is still not there and they want to come later, it's a huge issue because it's a huge risk. People do not want to risk by buying the tickets to the event that will be eventually cancelled because of the COVID. But you have to order the merchandise, you have to prepare the things, you have to scale the event, and if people do not buy the tickets in time, you run into the troubles. So that's the biggest organization issue, I think.
Yes, and it's gotten worse. Like this has always been a thing. That's why we always want you to buy your tickets early, because the earlier you do, the more safety we have for planning. But that's been my experience even when I was on the staff already, right, the first 3 years. But now it's even worse because obviously there's more factors that get into people's decisions wherever they go. COVID numbers affect people's decisions to travel. This year, I mean, you've all seen probably that travel and public transport has gotten worse than ever because now everyone wants to go on vacations again, but all at once. means trains, planes, and everything has been worse. Airports have been understaffed after COVID stuff, so planes have been worse. I had huge problems with train travel. I don't know about everyone else. Yes. It's been, all of these factors mean, I literally saw in the Galacon Discord a few people couldn't come because their planes were canceled. It's that sort of thing where you later see at the event, yeah, there's a few people less than usual. I can tell, it's a sort of vibe. But if those same people who couldn't make it that year because of those problems decide, this was so much stress, I'm not buying another ticket next year. That's a problem. We don't know that, but it's a new layer of challenge to plan.
Yes, if you want to help the conventions, please buy the ticket in advance. And also ask the organizers what are the refund options.
Yes.
Because for the basic tickets, we offer refund up to 2 weeks before the event. Because that's still the point where you can save a lot in case that the government says you cannot have that.
Yeah.
But if you don't have if you do not know how many people are actually willing to come, because that's always on the internet when you see the 10 people, it looks like a crowd of 100, but it's not. So if you want to support, just do this. Talk
to the con. Usually they're able to help you in some way. Just
Yes.
Buy early, and if there's an issue with that, then ask us. Yeah, it's always good to ask.
As I said in the beginning, I got 8 emails about people coming last minute without a ticket. We managed to solve that somehow with everyone. But it's a lot of stress last minute, and that's also one of the reasons why I was so sweaty running around. Because I had to deal with it myself.
Yeah.
So,
all right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your interest.
Yes. And I think we ran out of the question, we ran out of time already. So thank you for your attendance. One last thing, we mentioned the language barrier in the Europe. There is also a language problem with when you want to find another convention. If, for example, guys from Poland want to make a convention, they have to promote it in English, and where? We are always struggling where to send the information, hey guys, we are going to prepare next Czequestria. And it's a huge thing to make the PR, to actually get people know that there is something happening that's worth their attention. So I said that at the PonyCon Holland, that I'm still working on it. There is this thing, and this is my personal attempt to make the overview of the conventions in the Europe.
Oh, that's really good. I like that a lot.
Also others, if you want to have a look, because another issue is, how does that convention look like? You know, here you can see.
Yay, I know that place.
Yes. What's the history, what's the mascots, and stuff like that. And I'm trying to make it work, so if somebody is willing to provide me any materials, because sometimes it's really hard to actually get that data, because conventions do not publish them. So if you're willing to help with the spread of the information about these kind of events in the Europe, then I'll be really helpful. I'll be really grateful, not helpful too.
You are being helpful, though. This is really helpful.
But yeah, that's the end. What?
What's the name of the site?
bronies.eu. It's not, yeah, that should be easy, yes. I think it's not yet open, so this is just a preview.
Oh yes, I want to see this live though, this is so good.
But I was pretty busy with Czequestria recently, so I did not work on this.
Fair.
So we will continue, and I hope next time we will see each other. We will all have much better overview of these events in the Europe, because there are many, and they deserve the attention as the big events that are already known. So
yes, absolutely. I think that's
amazing.
Thank you.
I think we ran out of the time. If you want to ask me more questions, I'll be running around. If you catch me in some calm moment, you can ask me, or at the pre-parties, at other conventions, everywhere.
He is at a lot of those. Yep. You can see him in his very, very lovely Fluttershy outfit.
Oh yeah, the Fluttershy outfit.
Yes. So if you see Fluttershy, say hi to Fluttershy.
Yep. Some people tend not to recognize me. I will end this with just one short funny story from the Heartswarming Con. I've been there in my Gala Fluttershy cosplay, and one guy came to me and said, "Oh, I've seen you at the last Galacon." Yes, people say that often. And then goes like, "I've seen you at the last Heartswarming Con." "Oh, I think I've seen you at all conventions I've been to." "But man, you haven't been to one convention. You haven't been to Czequestria. It's so awesome. You should definitely visit it." I was like, "Oh, thank you. I will try." Thank you and enjoy Czequestria.
Big applause for Jamis, come on. Hey. Yeah.
Oh, you're too kind.
We're the right amount of kind.